Hello and welcome back to the channel. My name is Krashy, and today I wanted to start a bit of a discussion to try to answer a question that I get on stream a lot. Now, on stream we talk a lot about matchmaking and, the ranked mode and things of that nature, and we end up kind of getting toward a discussion that leads us into talking about win rates and win percentages, and it always kind of turns into this, oh, Krashy, I have, X amount of wins or X amount of games played and, Y win percentage. Like, am I good at the game? And I think that that's a very minimalistic way of approaching the concept of how to be good or how to know if you're good at the game. And yeah, so I want to try to answer that question. Am I good at the game? So how to know if you're good at the game in a less kind of almost arbitrary way. Now, I will say, on the win percentage side of that discussion, I personally feel like if you're solo duo queuing mostly, if you have like a 55% win rate, like, you're doing very well. You're winning a little bit more than half your games, like a decent amount more, 5% more than half your games. You're consistently climbing at 55% win rate, and you're doing well. Now, if you're within that like 50 to 54% range, like, that's still good, right? 50 is formidable. That means you have things to work on. That's what I think 50% win rate clearly means. You have things to work on. You're winning half your games. You're not impacting games as much as you could be, because there are some games that you can hard carry. That's the truth. And then there's some games that you can't. So, you have to try to be on the stronger side of being consistent. 52%, 53, 54%, like, it's formidable. You're going in the right direction, right? Good things. All right, so the win percentage side is out of the way. How do you know if you're a good teammate? Well, there's a couple of more literal ways to know, and I would start by saying, like, does your pick at the start of a game correlate well with the rest of the team? Now, here's the thing. The problem with that is that, that doesn't always mean that you should pick a tank or a support, because nobody's picking tank or support, because you kind of have to carry in these games. But if you're still kind of like doing I'm carrying the game, I'm playing all-rounder support, or like speedster or attacker, does the pick at least make a little bit of sense? Do y'all already have like a Decidueye Cinderace and you pick like Greninja? Things like that. Try to still, even so, make the best team comp you can, and then maybe every now and then still sacrifice it and go, play like a nice pick. I think characters like Wiggly, Mime, Eldegoss, like even some of I don't know, what tanks do I think are really good for solo queue? Like Blastoise is really good for solo queue. I think Slowbro is way more impactful than people think in solo queue, because Slowbro's kind of weakness is like the early laning phase, but in solo queue that weakness is like not nearly as bad. So does your pick help the team, even if you're not picking a tank or support? You have to kind of think about that. Sometimes, I want to play an attacker for my team, but, picking an attacker for the comp that we have is like not the best. Like, if I just picked another Greninja, it just wouldn't be that great. So I'll pick like a Venusaur, because Venusaur is like really, y'all know how like the Giga Drain Venusaur kind of like leans in toward all-rounder a little bit. You're just kind of really divey, you're self-sustaining a lot. So like, when you're even picking an attacker, make sure that your pick is kind of correlating or at least fitting the team comp a little bit, helping to round out the team comp. All right, so that's the first part. What's the next part? I think that you need to be playing with your team. Now, this sounds silly, but there are so many times where it'll be the early, like within the first minute of the game, and people don't even play with their laning partner. There's the neutral Corphish, the neutral Ice Cube, or what is it in top lane? It is a Corphish, right? Yeah, so you have the neutral Corphish and the neutral Ice Cube. Well, people will go for like the safe farm, but that doesn't make any sense, because there's a neutral up, and you could fight over the neutral, and you could secure the neutral, and you could get the experience for the neutral, and then still go get your Ice Cube or whatever you have. So make sure that you're playing the lane with your teammate. Now, it's more than just that neutral, right? Like, it's being prepared for the 850 bears, like keeping your health high right before the 850 bears. That is an easy way to know if I know a player is good or not. If I see them pushing and they're taking a bunch of damage right before 850 bears, or they die at like, 6 minutes, or like 858, 857, it's like, I know they're not a great player, because they didn't have the awareness to start playing safe for those bears. So play with your laner and this is almost like a meme in our stream, because we say, like, Lush will always say match their aggression, but match your laner's aggression. If they're being aggressive, have a little bit of faith in them. Don't just always play scared. And then, of course, obviously that's within reason. You have to kind of know what you're capable of, but play with your laner. If you see that your teammates are wanting to rotate down for Dreadnought, rotate down. And that's the other thing. That's another point that you need to know if you want to know that you're a good player, or if you need to know if you're a good player. Are you following the cadence of the game? Do you just constantly go to your lane over and over and over again? Are you, a lot of problems that we've had probably since the very beginning is that people don't rotate, right? They don't ever rotate to Dread. Are you that person? Are you the person in bot lane that stays bottom and doesn't ever rotate top to try to trade something? It's like there's a certain point in the game where if you're past that 7-minute mark and everybody is just consistently doing the same thing, you're never going to get a different result, right? So like sometimes to be a good player, you have to make something happen. So in solo queue, a lot of the time, if I'm in bottom lane, I'll just rip Dread. Like I'll just try to get it myself. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes people aren't even paying attention to it. Or in solo queue, if I'm bottom and I see that my teammates aren't coming down, guess what? I'll go top. It doesn't really matter. It does, but it doesn't really matter what value you get out of a game. If you can get Rotom and they get Dreadnought, at least you got something, right? It's better than them getting both. And if you can get Dreadnought, that's like probably best case scenario for first Dreadnought. So play with your team, show up, be available, and be in the right place at the right time. The next thing that you need to know how to do is to get value out of your Unite move. I think that this is probably one of the most weird concepts that players probably don't understand. When you have your Unite move, you have to think about what you're doing when you use it. What does using your Unite move get you? And I feel like so often people will use their Unite move to save themselves more than getting any kind of value. But saving your life in this game doesn't really matter unless it's at a very specific time. So anytime you use your Unite move, you should be getting something specific in return for it. So if I'm at Dreadnought and I have my Unite move and I use it and we get Dreadnought, that was the value. If I have, 30, 40 points on me and I use my Unite move and we push their goal and I score it, that was the value. If I'm in the middle of the map at like 5 minutes, there's no objectives up, and I have like 2 enemies pushing me and I use my Unite move and use it to run away, well, what did I get there? What value was it? Was the value that I just stayed alive? Okay, well, in the next 30 seconds to a minute, another Rotom and another Dreadnought are going to be up. Now I have no Unite move. Now I'm going to have a harder fight going up against the people that have their Unite moves. So you have to think about how to always get value out of your Unite move. Now, as for the end of the game, I think the simple rule of thumb is like I would not use my Unite move anywhere like after like 3 minutes 30 and like remaining on the clock. And the main reason why is like you have to. It's not a request. You have to have your Unite move for the final 2 minutes if you want to at least win more matches than you lose. Because having that Unite move is what swings that final fight to potentially get Articuno. So if you want to be a good player, you make sure that you're getting value out of your Unite move. You make sure that you're not using it in the wrong time, and you make sure that you always have it. Always, not sometimes. And I do it too. You know what I mean? But we gotta strive to be better. That you always have it for the final 2 minutes. All right. I kind of feel like I missed one thing because I don't really have any notes in front of me or anything. But another thing that people just don't do is they don't block goals. Nobody blocks goals. Everybody will farm up and they'll just leave bottom goal alone and they'll walk away. Or they'll have a fight in top lane over Rotom and then they'll all leave top lane and go bottom lane or into jungle. And it's like nobody blocks goals. Please start blocking goals. Just stand on them every now and then. You're not going to be farming right away, but if you're in the lead, or even if you're not in the lead, you're going to stop them from getting 50 points, 40 points, 30 points. There are so many games that are easy in solo queue, and I'm being serious, easy to close out just because you had the point lead to start with. Start playing for that point lead. Try to make sure that you're not giving up turn-ins that are free turn-ins. Other than that, I think it's simple. To know that you're a good teammate, it just means that you have to have knowledge of the game. So understand the game. know the game. Understand the phases of the game, when you should be using your Unite move, why you should be, matching the aggression of your laner in lane, why you should be holding the off lane is what we call it, like off laning and sitting, on the lane. Like if everybody goes top lane for Rotom and nobody stays bottom for the off lane, well then somebody might get a free kill out of it. So knowing when you should offlane and how to get value out of offlaning, knowing when to use your Unite, knowing not when to use your Unite. It's all of these little things that come together that make a good player, right? It makes a good player because you can then apply all of the knowledge that you have about the game to get the most value. So hopefully this was helpful. I know this was a little scatterbrained, but I felt like it was just something I wanted to just talk about. Sometimes I just like to open up the mic and talk, so here you have it. As always, friends, be sure to be kind to one another, tell someone that you love them, and I'll see you on the next video.